The Whisper of Change, the Demonic and Witch Perspective, 546 AD. As the Grand Portal reopened in 545 AD, its trickle of magic and connection to the Grand Spark sent out a ripple of energy through the mystical layers of the world. Although humans and most common beings were oblivious to this shift, the more attuned practitioners of dark magic, Baba Yaga's witches and dormant demonic forces, began to notice. The sensation wasn't loud or obvious at first. It was subtle, like a faint breeze that shifted direction in the dead of night. Coven leaders, wandering witches, and isolated demon-tainted artifacts buried in forgotten tombs began to vibrate with faint, inexplicable energy. In her remote northern forest lair, Baba Yaga, seated on her throne of twisted roots and bones, sat in meditation as her coven gathered around her. Her senses stretched beyond the trees, beyond the rivers and mountains, reaching into the arcane fabric of the world. The witches watched as she opened her eyes, her gaze filled with both wonder and suspicion. "The wind is changing," Baba Yaga muttered. "Magic flows in places it hasn't touched for centuries." To her more experienced witches, the meaning was clear. Something dormant and long forgotten had begun to awaken. The demonic senses stirring. Deep in ancient crypts where demonic artifacts lay dormant, or in forgotten sites of corrupted rituals, the faint hum of power began to pulse again. These objects, once weakened by the absence of the Grand Spark, now seemed to breathe faintly. Some spirits bound to demonic relics whispered among themselves, sensing the veil of magic slowly lifting. In regions where demonic cults secretly survived, their leaders awoke from nightmares filled with green, shimmering light, the very image of Neferithil's portal opening, though they could not yet understand its meaning. A nameless demon trapped in an ancient tomb near Cyrene stirred from its slumber, its presence felt by local shepherds who began fleeing the area due to unexplained sickness and visions of shadowy figures. Though weakened, the demon whispered to any who would listen, "Something calls us back." The witches' divination attempts. By 546 AD, Baba Yaga's witches had begun rituals to identify the source of the shift. Some believed it was a remnant of the old elven magic they had read about in forbidden scrolls, while others thought the gods were involved. They cast bones, stirred cauldrons, and consulted spirits. But every ritual led to unclear visions, flashes of a desert, a temple complex, shimmering light. Frustrated, one of Baba Yaga's senior witches remarked, "Wherever it is, the gods themselves hide it from us." But Baba Yaga knew better. She remained patient, knowing that as the trickle of the Grand Spark intensified, the source would eventually reveal itself. In her mind, it was not a question of if, but when.